to the Soul Bootcamp. I'm your host, Daniel. In our previous videos, we showed you how to create a quote and convert that quote into an invoice. However, there are instances where you might not even need a quote and you want to skip directly to sending an invoice. On the dashboard here, there are two ways you can create an invoice. Under Create a New on the top right hand side, you can click Invoice. Under Invoices here, you can click View All and it'll let you create an invoice. And on the far left hand side of the screen, under the toolbar, you can click on the Invoices dashbar. Once you are there, you can create a new invoice by clicking New Invoice in the top right hand corner of the screen. Fields marked with an asterisk are mandatory. At this point, I'm going to use the same client that I created a quote for. I'll make the invoice dated today, and this time I'm going to select 14 days payment terms. And you can see it already updated the due date. Invoice description, we will say services rendered for 20 November 2022. And in the description, I'm going to say hours for 2022. 8 hours at $50 an hour with no discount. If you want, you can schedule follow-up work reminders. If you wanted to do that, you can click on the date you want to notify the client and put in a reminder message. There is an alternative. You can schedule a repeating invoice. And you can select the frequency, once off, weekly, fortnightly, monthly, etc., and the number of occurrences with the start date. Pretty good in instances where you might be a piano teacher and you have the same student every week for a term. So you can charge them a single invoice on a weekly basis. Going back to creating this invoice, I am choosing to include GST as I am registered for GST. If you're not, simply ensure you don't have this ticked. So having it ticked, you can see it as the GST amount. You can also add invoice notes or reminders to the client. In this instance, I'm going to write, please remember to pay within 14 days per the payment terms. Before I send this invoice, if I scroll back up to the top, on the right hand side, I click on the preview button and it will show me what the invoice looks like. I can check all the information to make sure it is appropriate and accurate. And you can see down here, we have our invoice notes and our payment terms with our bank details that we already set up in our settings pane. Now I'm going to save and send. It has brought missing information to the screen. In this instance, I need to add the client's email address. So I'm just going to put in test as the email, but you'll put in your client's email address and click send. Once created, you'll come back to the invoices dashboard and you can see invoice number 2 is what we just created with the date, the payment terms, and the total. That is how you create an invoice on the Soul web app.